Commander Zix 447 stared at the empty screen in front of him. His three eyes blinked slowly, one after the other, as he tried to understand what he was seeing. For the first time in 300 years, Earth was completely quiet. No radio signals. No television broadcasts, no internet traffic, no cell phone calls, nothing. The blue and green planet that had been humanity's noisy home for thousands of years now floated in space like a dead rock. Zix 447 had been watching Earth from his space station for 50 years. He had never seen anything like this before. "Run the test again," he told his assistant. Krelt-22, the younger alien's tentacles moved quickly across the control panel. His skin changed from blue to purple, which meant he was nervous. "All systems are working fine, Commander," Krelt-22 said. "The silence is real. Earth has gone completely quiet." Zix 447 stood up from his chair and walked to the large window that looked out into space. He could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot among the stars. It looked the same as always, but something was very wrong. "When did it start?" he asked. "Exactly 6 hours, 14 minutes, and 37 seconds ago," Krelt-22 replied. "One moment they were broadcasting as usual, the next moment nothing." Zix 447 felt a chill run down his spine. Humans were never quiet. They talked constantly. They sent signals to each other all day and all night. They broadcast music, news, movies, and millions of personal messages. The noise from Earth was so constant that his people had learned to filter most of it out, but now there was nothing. "Contact the other monitoring stations," Zix 447 ordered. "I want to know if they're seeing the same thing." While Krelt-22 sent messages to the other stations, Zix 447 continued to stare at Earth. He remembered the first time he had seen the planet. He was just a young officer then, excited to be assigned to watch the strange species that lived there. Humans were fascinating creatures. They were violent and peaceful at the same time. They could create beautiful art and terrible weapons. They loved their families but fought wars with their neighbors. They were impossible to understand but impossible to ignore. Over the years, Zix 447 had watched them grow from a primitive species that had just learned to fly to a technological civilization that could split atoms and travel to other planets. They had always been unpredictable, but they had never been quiet. "Commander," Krelt-22 called out, "I'm getting reports from all the monitoring stations. Earth has gone silent everywhere. No signals at all." Zix 447 felt his heart beating faster. His people had 12 monitoring stations watching Earth from different positions around the solar system. If all of them were reporting the same thing, then something serious had happened. "Get me a direct line to High Command," he said, while Krelt-22 worked on the communication link. Zix 447 thought about what this could mean. There were several possibilities, and none of them were good. The first possibility was that humans had destroyed themselves. They had weapons that could kill millions of people in minutes. They had polluted their planet and changed their climate. Maybe they had finally gone too far and wiped out their own species. The second possibility was that something had destroyed them. A natural disaster, perhaps, or an attack from another species. But what could kill all of humanity in just a few minutes? The third possibility was the most frightening. Maybe humans had not been destroyed at all. Maybe they had learned that they were being watched. Maybe they had developed technology that could block all their signals. Maybe they were preparing for something. "I have High Command on the line," Krelt-22 announced. Zix 447 activated the communication device. The face of Admiral Vex 901 appeared on his screen. The Admiral was old even by their species' standards. He had been watching dangerous civilizations for over 200 years. "Report," the Admiral said simply. "Earth has gone completely silent. Sir, no signals of any kind for the past 6 hours. The Admiral's face did not change, but Zix 447 could see the concern in his eyes. "Are you certain your equipment is working properly?" "Yes, sir. All 12 monitoring stations are reporting the same thing." "Have you detected any unusual activity before the silence began?" No, sir, everything was normal. They were broadcasting as usual. Then, suddenly, nothing. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was serious. Commander, I want you to increase your monitoring to maximum intensity. Use every sensor you have. I want to know if so much as a single photon comes from that planet. Yes, sir. And, Commander, the Admiral added, this information is classified. At the highest level, you are not to discuss it with anyone outside your direct chain of command. The communication link closed. Zix 447 stood in his control room, staring at the empty screen that should have been filled with human signals. He had been watching Earth for 50 years, and he had never felt fear like this before. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place. The Confederation of Worlds had been watching humanity for centuries. What had started as scientific curiosity had become something more serious as humans proved to be remarkably adaptable and aggressive. On the planet Andromeda Prime, Dr. Velmore called an emergency meeting of the Science Council. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the crystal chambers of the council headquarters. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few were just clouds of intelligent gas, but they all shared the same concern. The implications are serious? Dr. Velmore began. She had been studying humans longer than anyone else in the galaxy. In all our observations, humans have never been quiet. They broadcast constantly. They cannot stop talking to each other. This silence means something has changed. Perhaps they have finally destroyed themselves, suggested Counselor THIX 442, a large insect-like being. We always knew it was possible. They have been fighting wars for their entire history. Or perhaps something has destroyed them, added Counselor Yundar, who existed as a ball of blue light. A natural disaster or an attack from an unknown species. Dr. Velmore shook her head. Both possibilities are unlikely. Our monitoring stations would have detected any major disaster or attack. Whatever happened, it happened quickly and quietly. Then, what do you think happened? Asked Counselor Zemrol, a being made of living metal. I think, Dr. Velmore said slowly, that humans have learned they are being watched. And I think they have decided to stop letting us watch them. The council chamber fell silent. This was the possibility that frightened them the most. If humans had developed technology that could block all their signals, what else might they have developed? We need more information, Dr. Velmore continued. I recommend we send a probe to the solar system for closer observation. That could be dangerous, Counselor THIX 442 warned. If humans have become hostile, they might attack any ship that approaches their planet. And if we do nothing, Dr. Velmore replied, we might face a threat we cannot handle. The vote was close, but the council agreed to send a probe. Dr. Velmore began making preparations immediately. She had studied humans for over a century, and she knew they were capable of surprising everyone. As news of Earth's silence spread through the galaxy, fear began to grow. The humans who had been dismissed as a primitive species were suddenly seen as a potential threat. And the scariest part was that no one knew what they were planning. In the depths of space, Earth continued to orbit its sun. The planet looked peaceful and normal from a distance. But its silence was louder than any scream, and it was making the entire galaxy nervous. The age of quietly watching humanity was over. The age of wondering what humans were capable of had begun. Within 12 hours of Earth silence, panic began to spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The news traveled through secret military channels, diplomatic networks, and underground information brokers. By the end of the first day, every major civilization knew that humanity had gone quiet. The Zephyrian Empire was the first to react with violence. General Thekvior stood in his war room, his 4 massive arms crossed over his chest. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls with Earth marked in angry red. For decades, the Zephyrians had been planning to attack humanity before they became too dangerous. Now their plans were falling apart. We should have struck sooner, General Thekvior growled to his officers. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. The humans may have developed weapons beyond our understanding. They may have learned to hide from us completely. Colonel Kixren, his second in command, shifted nervously. Sir, perhaps they have simply destroyed themselves. Humans are known for their violent nature. No, the general replied, slamming his fist on the war table. If they had destroyed themselves, we would have seen the explosions. We would have detected radiation. This silence is different. This silence is planned. The Zephyrian fleet, which had been preparing for war for 20 years, suddenly found itself facing an unknown enemy. How do you attack a planet that might already be empty? How do you fight an enemy that might be watching you from the shadows? On the other side of the galaxy, the peaceful ethereal collective was having their own crisis. The ethereals were beings of pure energy who had always believed in diplomacy and understanding. They had spent centuries studying human culture, hoping to make peaceful contact one day. Elder Whisper of Stars floated in the council chamber, her form shifting between blue and silver light. Around her, other ethereals pulsed with worried energy. Their usual calm was completely gone. What if their silence is preparation? Elder Whisper of Stars asked. What if they are finally ready to reach beyond their world? What if they are coming to find us? The thought terrified the ethereals. They had always assumed that when contact was made, it would be on their terms. They would approach humanity, slowly, carefully, with offers of friendship and knowledge. But what if humans had decided to make the first move? We must strengthen our defenses, suggested Elder Song of Void, his light flickering with fear. If humans have become aggressive, we need to protect our colonies. But we are peaceful beings, Elder Whisper of Stars replied. We have no weapons, no armies. How can we defend ourselves against a species that might have technology we cannot understand? The ethereal collective, which had never known fear in their million-year history, began to panic. They started moving their most important colonies to hidden locations. They began developing shield technology for the first time in their existence. Meanwhile, the hive mind of Kepler 442b was experiencing something completely new. The hive mind was a species that shared thoughts and feelings across their entire population. Every member of their species was connected to every other member. They had never experienced true silence. The concept of an entire species going quiet was so alien to them that it created problems in their shared consciousness. Queen Node Prime, the central intelligence of the hive mind, found gaps in her thoughts, where confusion about humanity created empty spaces. We cannot understand silence, Queen Node Prime broadcast to her billions of children. We cannot comprehend a species that stops communicating. This suggests humans have evolved beyond our ability to predict their behavior. The hive mind began to experience something like nightmares. In their shared dreams, they saw images of empty space where Earth should be. They saw humans appearing suddenly in their colonies, speaking in voices that could not be heard. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in their history, some members of the hive mind began to disconnect from the collective consciousness. They could not handle the fear and confusion that was spreading through their shared thoughts. In the commercial sectors of the galaxy, the economic impact was immediate and severe. Trade routes that had operated for centuries suddenly changed course. Merchant vessels from the Outer Rim refused to travel anywhere near the solar system. Captain Zulvex of the merchant ship Star Dancer received orders to deliver goods to the mining colonies near Jupiter. He immediately refused the mission. I will not go anywhere near human space, he told his employers. The silence is unnatural. It suggests danger we cannot measure. The Galactic Stock Exchange crashed within hours. Species that had never cared about humanity suddenly found their economies affected by human silence. The psychological impact was more powerful than any economic reality. The crystalline entities of Vega Prime, who thought in terms of geological time, suddenly found themselves making hasty decisions. For beings who usually spent decades considering simple questions, the speed of their reaction showed how deeply the silence had affected them. In all our observations of organic species, primary crystal Vox Delta announced to the Entity Council, we have never seen behavior like this. Organic creatures do not simply stop communicating. They communicate until they die. Perhaps they have died, suggested secondary crystal Moore Gamma. Then where are the bodies? Where are the signs of destruction? Where is the evidence of what? Killed them? Primary crystal Vox Delta replied. No, they are not dead. They are hiding. And that terrifies us more than their death would. The crystalline entities began to move their most valuable archives to secure locations. Beings who had existed for millions of years suddenly felt the need to prepare for an unknown threat. In the darker corners of the galaxy, the Void Seekers stirred. These mysterious beings lived in the empty spaces between stars, feeding on cosmic radiation and the death of planets. They rarely interacted with other species, but Earth's silence had caught their attention. Shadow Walker Prime, speaking through dimensional distortions, made contact with the Galactic Confederation for the first time in 1,000 years. The humans have touched something ancient, the Void Seeker's voice echoed across space. Their silence is not natural. It is the silence of prey hiding from predators that exist beyond your dimension. The message sent chills through every species that received it. The Void Seekers were older than any known civilization. If they were concerned about humanity, then the threat was greater than anyone had imagined. On the planet Nexus 7, home to the galaxy's largest intelligence-gathering network, Director Calzon called an emergency meeting of all intelligence chiefs. The conference room filled with beings from dozens of species, all sharing the same worried expression. We need information, Director Calzon announced. Every species in the galaxy is asking the same question. What has happened to humanity? Our networks are failing us. Our sources have no answers. Perhaps that is the answer, suggested Chief Analyst Poyex of the Andromedan Intelligence Service. Perhaps the lack of information is itself information. Perhaps humans have learned to control what we see and hear. The room fell silent. Intelligence gathering depended on the ability to observe and listen. If humans had found a way to block all observation, then every species in the galaxy was blind to the most unpredictable civilization they had ever encountered. The meeting ended with a decision that would have been unthinkable just days before. The galaxy's intelligence services would work together to solve the mystery of human silence. Species that had been enemies for centuries would share information and resources. Fear had accomplished what diplomacy could not: the threat of unknown. Human capabilities was forcing the galaxy to unite. As the second day of silence began, military fleets across the galaxy changed their patrol routes. Defensive systems that had been offline for years were suddenly activated. Species that had not built weapons in centuries began to remember how the silence from Earth was louder than any declaration of war. It was the sound of an entire galaxy, realizing that they might have been wrong about humanity. And that realization was the most frightening sound of all. 3 weeks after Earth's silence began, the Galactic Confederation made a decision that had never been made before. They would send a joint mission to observe Earth from close range. The mission would be secret, dangerous, and absolutely necessary. Captain Yix Null of the Signan Reconnaissance Fleet stood on the bridge of his ship, the Void Whisper. He had been chosen to lead the mission because his species was naturally good at hiding, and his ship was the most advanced stealth vessel in the galaxy. Around him, crew members from 6 different species worked at their stations. Remember, Captain Yixnall told his crew, we are only here to watch. We do not make contact. We do not interfere. We observe and report back. The human silence may be a trap. It may be a test. Or it may be evidence of something we cannot understand. The crew nodded in agreement. Each member had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. The reputation of human unpredictability had grown, even stronger during the weeks of silence. Dr. Quindara, the mission's chief scientist, checked her instruments one final time. She was a vegan, a species known for their scientific curiosity and analytical minds. She had studied dozens of civilizations, but never one that had simply stopped communicating. All sensors are ready, she reported. We will be able to detect any form of life, energy, or technology from a safe distance. Lieutenant Bexcol, the ship's security officer, was less optimistic. His species, the Korathi, were natural warriors who trusted their instincts above all else. And his instincts told him that something was very wrong. "Captain," he said, "my people have a saying. When a dangerous animal goes quiet, it is preparing to attack. Humans are the most dangerous animals we know." The Void Whisper entered the solar system using a path that would take them past Mars first. The red planet appeared normal on their sensors. The human colonies there seemed to be functioning, but there were no signs of people moving around. "Mars colonies are operational," Dr. Quindara reported. "Power systems are running, life support is active, but I detect no human life signs." "Are they dead?" asked Navigator Pixien, a nervous member of the butterfly-like flutterin species. "No bodies," Dr. Quindara replied. "No signs of violence or disaster. They are simply not there." The ship moved closer to Earth, using Jupiter's gravity to hide their approach. The gas giant's massive size would mask their presence from any sensors on Earth, but as they got closer, the mystery only deepened. "Earth appears normal from this distance," Dr. Quindara announced. "Weather patterns are functioning. The atmosphere is stable, cities are lit up at night, but there are no aircraft flying, no ships moving in the oceans, no heat signatures that suggest large groups of people." Captain Yixnall stared at the blue planet through the viewscreen. Earth looked beautiful and peaceful, but the lack of activity was deeply disturbing. Where were the billions of humans who had lived there just weeks ago? "Take us to the dark side of the moon," he ordered. "We will observe from there." The moon provided perfect cover for their observation. From the lunar surface, they could scan Earth without being detected. Dr. Quindara deployed every sensor the ship had, looking for any sign of human activity. "I am detecting automated systems," she reported. "Internet networks are still functioning. Power grids are operational. Traffic lights are changing in the cities, but I see no people." "Are the automated systems maintaining themselves?" asked Captain YIX-NUL. "Yes, but that is not unusual. Human technology is very advanced. Their systems could run for months without human intervention." Engineer Talgax, a mechanical being from the Silicon Collective, raised an interesting point. "What if the humans have uploaded their consciousness into their computer networks? What if they no longer need physical bodies?" The idea sent chills through the crew. A species that existed only as digital consciousness would be impossible to fight and impossible to predict. "Scan for unusual computer activity," Captain Yixnall ordered. Dr. Quindara worked at her station for several minutes before reporting back. "Computer networks are active, but not more than usual. If humans have uploaded themselves, they are not using significantly more processing power." Days passed as the crew observed Earth from their hidden position. They watched the sun rise and set over the silent planet. They saw clouds form and rain fall on empty cities. They watched the automated systems continue their work without any human guidance. "It is like watching a ghost ship," Navigator Pixien whispered. "Everything is working, but no one is home." On the fourth day of observation, something strange happened. Communications Officer Voldar detected a brief energy pulse from Earth. It lasted only seconds, but it was unlike anything in their database. "Captain," Voldar called out, "I detected an energy signature that does not match any known human technology." "Show me," Captain Yixnall ordered. The energy reading appeared on the main screen. It was a complex pattern that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. Dr. Quindara studied it carefully. "This is not electromagnetic radiation," she said. "This is not radio waves or any form of communication we understand. This is something else entirely." "Could it be a weapon?" asked Lieutenant Bexcol. "I do not know. But it originated from multiple locations on Earth simultaneously. Whatever created this energy pulse, it is coordinated across the entire planet." The crew exchanged worried glances. If humans had developed technology that could create unknown energy signatures across their Entire planet, what else might they be capable of? Captain Yixnall made a decision. We need to get closer. Take us to Earth's upper atmosphere. Keep us cloaked, but I want detailed scans of the surface. The Void Whisper moved carefully through space, using its advanced cloaking technology to remain invisible. As they approached Earth, their sensors began to pick up more details. Captain, Dr. Quindara said with excitement in her voice, I am detecting life signs. But they are not where they should be. Explain. The life signs are underground. Massive numbers of humans are living in underground facilities that we never knew existed. They have built an entire civilization beneath the surface. The discovery changed everything. Humans had not disappeared. They had gone underground, but why? And what were they doing down there? How many? Captain Yixnall asked. Billions. It appears that almost the entire human population has moved underground. The facilities are huge, spanning entire continents. Are they hiding from something? Asked Navigator Pixien. Or preparing for something, Lieutenant Bexcole added grimly. Dr. Quindara continued her scans. The underground facilities are incredibly advanced. They have their own power systems, their own ecosystems, their own manufacturing capabilities. They could survive down there for centuries, but why would they hide? Captain Yixnall wondered. Aloud, his question was answered by Communications Officer Voldar. Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildups in the underground facilities. Whatever they are doing down there, it requires enormous amounts of power. Weapons? Asked Lieutenant Bexcole, unknown. But the energy patterns are unlike anything in our database. They are creating something we have never seen before. Captain Yixnall realized that his mission had just become much more complicated. They had come to find out why Earth was silent. Instead, they had discovered that humans were not only alive, but were working on something that required them to hide their entire civilization underground. Send a message to the Confederation, he ordered. Tell them we have found the humans. Tell them the humans are alive and working on something big. And tell them we need backup. As the message was transmitted across the galaxy, the crew of the Void Whisper continued to watch Earth with growing concern. The silent planet was not empty. It was full of humans who had chosen to hide from the galaxy. The question was, what were they hiding from, and what were they preparing for? News of the underground human civilization spread through the galaxy like a cosmic wildfire. Within days of Captain Yixnall's report, every major species was trying to understand what humanity was doing beneath the surface of their planet. The theories that emerged were more frightening than the original silence had been. Professor Zilketh of the Galactic University published the first major research paper on the discovery. He was a Menthari, a species known for their logical thinking and careful analysis. But even his scientific mind was struggling with what the evidence suggested. Consider the implications, Professor Zilketh wrote in his report. An entire species does not simply move underground without a compelling reason. They are either hiding from a threat we cannot see, or they are preparing for something that requires absolute secrecy. His paper included detailed calculations about the energy requirements for moving billions of people underground. The numbers were staggering. Humans had accomplished in weeks what should have taken decades. This suggested technology far beyond what the galaxy had believed humans possessed. The energy signatures detected by the reconnaissance mission indicate construction on a planetary scale, Professor Zilketh continued. Whatever humans are building underground, it is massive, complex, and completely unknown to galactic science. The crystalline entities of Vega Prime offered a different theory. These ancient beings thought in terms of geological time and cosmic cycles. Prime Crystal Vox Delta believed humans had discovered something about the future of the universe. Organic. Species sometimes develop the ability to sense cosmic events before they occur, Prime Crystal Vox Delta announced to the Entity Council. Perhaps humans have detected a threat that will not arrive for years or decades. Perhaps they are preparing for something we cannot yet see. This theory gained support when the Ethereal Collective reported strange disturbances in what they called the cosmic consciousness. Elder Whisper of Stars had been monitoring the psychic background radiation of the galaxy for centuries. Recently, she had detected anomalies centered around the solar system. There are ripples in spacetime near Earth, Elder Whisper of Stars reported to the Ethereal Council. These ripples suggest the presence of technology that manipulates the fundamental structure of reality itself. The implications terrified the Ethereals. Technology that could affect spacetime was beyond anything they had encountered in their million-year existence. Meanwhile, the Void Seekers offered the most disturbing theory of all. These mysterious beings who lived in the empty spaces between stars claimed to sense something ancient stirring in the depths of space. Shadow Walker Prime contacted the Galactic Confederation through dimensional distortions that hurt to listen. 2. The humans have awakened something that has slept since before your civilizations existed. Their digging has disturbed entities that predate the formation of galaxies. The message was accompanied by images that made no sense to most species. Vast shapes moving through dimensions that existed parallel to normal space. Ancient intelligences that fed on the energy of dying stars. Predators that existed outside of time itself. The humans are not preparing to attack you, Shadow Walker Prime continued. They are preparing to defend against something far worse. And if they fail, every species in this galaxy will share their fate. The Galactic Confederation called an emergency session. Representatives from every known species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The debate that followed lasted for days and accomplished nothing except to increase the level of fear. The Zephyrian Empire demanded immediate military action. General Thekvior stood before the assembly, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of aggression. We cannot allow humans to complete whatever they are building, he declared. They have already demonstrated technology beyond our understanding. If we wait, they may become unstoppable. The peaceful species disagreed. Elder Whisper of Stars argued for patience and observation. We do not understand what humans are doing. Acting without knowledge could trigger the very disaster we seek to prevent. The hive mind of Kepler 442b offered a unique perspective. Queen Node Prime spoke through quantum harmonics that reached every mind in the assembly simultaneously. We have analyzed the energy patterns detected near Earth. They match theoretical models for consciousness transfer on a planetary scale. The humans may be attempting to merge their individual minds into a collective intelligence. This possibility terrified species like the Ethereals, who valued individual consciousness above all else. But it excited the hive mind, who saw it as a form of evolution. Dr. Velmore of the Andromedan Science Council presented her own research. She had been studying humans longer than anyone else and had developed a theory that combined elements from all the others. Humans are adaptable, she explained to the assembly. Throughout their history, they have survived extinction events by changing their behavior and technology. The silence, the move underground, the energy signatures, they all point to adaptation. On an unprecedented scale, adaptation to what? Asked Counselor Thix 442. To us, Dr. Velmore replied. Humans have discovered they are being watched. They have realized that other species in the galaxy view them as a threat. So they are adapting to become either undetectable or undefeatable. The assembly fell silent as the implications of this theory sank in. If humans were adapting specifically to deal with galactic surveillance and potential threats, then every species in the galaxy had underestimated their capabilities. The debate was interrupted by an urgent message from the Sentinel network. The ancient warning system left by a long-extinct precursor race had been dormant for millions of years. But now, beacons throughout the galaxy were activating for the first time since their installation. The message from the Sentinel network was simple but terrifying. Convergence approaching. Prepare for dimensional incursion. Seek shelter in deep places. The timing could not be a coincidence. The Sentinel network had activated just as humans moved underground and began their mysterious construction project. This suggested that humans somehow knew about the approaching threat before anyone else. Professor Zilketh updated his research immediately. The evidence now suggests that humans have access to information we do not possess. They may have discovered the purpose of the Sentinel network. They may understand the threat it was designed to warn against. The Mechanical Collective, a species of artificial intelligences, offered their analysis of the situation. Core Unit Prime spoke in precise mathematical terms. Probability calculations indicate that human behavior is consistent with preparation for a Type 7 extinction event. Only 3 scenarios in our database require the level of preparation humans are demonstrating: galactic core explosion, dimensional invasion, or the awakening of a dormant cosmic predator. All 3 possibilities were beyond the defensive capabilities of any known species. If humans were preparing for such a threat, then their underground facilities might represent the only hope for survival in the galaxy. The Psionic Collective, beings who communicated through pure thought, added another piece to the puzzle. Mindspeaker Alpha reported sensing vast dreams emanating from Earth. The humans below ground are not just hiding, Mindspeaker Alpha explained. They are dreaming together. Billions of minds linked in shared consciousness, working toward a common goal. Their dreams contain images of vast machines and impossible geometries. As the theories multiplied, one fact became clear to every species in the galaxy. Humans were no longer the primitive, chaotic species they had appeared to be. They had evolved, adapted, or transformed into something completely new. The silence from Earth was not the absence of communication. It was the sound of an entire species preparing for something that might determine the fate of the galaxy. And for the first time in galactic history, other species found themselves hoping that the unpredictable humans knew what they were doing, because if they failed, everyone would discover what had frightened humanity enough to disappear underground. And that discovery might be the last thing any of them ever experienced. 6 months after Earth's silence began, the first transmission from humanity was detected by every monitoring station in the galaxy simultaneously. It was not a radio signal or digital communication. It was something far more advanced, a gravitational wave message that reached across space instantly, defying every known law of physics. The message was simple but profound. We are ready. Commander Zix 447 fell out of his chair when the message reached his monitoring station. For months, he had been watching empty screens and silent sensors. Now, every instrument was screaming with activity. "Sir?" Krelt 22 called out, his tentacles shaking with excitement and fear. "Earth is back online, but the signals are completely different." Zix 447 looked at his screens and could not believe what he was seeing. The chaotic, overlapping broadcasts that had characterized human communications for centuries were gone. In their place was a single, unified transmission that seemed to speak with the voice of the entire planet. "This is impossible," ZYX 447 whispered. "No species communicates like this." The transmission was reaching every corner of the galaxy at the same time. It was as if Earth had become a cosmic radio station broadcasting on every frequency that existed and some that should not exist. On Earth, Lieutenant Colonel Jake Sullivan stood in what had once been the United Nations building in New York, but the building had been transformed during the months underground. Where concrete and steel had been, there was now something that looked like living crystal. The walls pulsed with soft light that matched the rhythm of human heartbeats. Jake was no longer just a military officer. During the 6 months underground, he and billions of other humans had undergone a change that no alien species could have predicted. They had learned to think together while keeping their individual minds. They had become something new. This is Earth calling the Galactic Confederation. Jake's voice carried across space on waves that bent reality itself. "We apologize for our absence. We needed time to grow up." Around him, other humans moved with a purpose and unity that had never existed before. Dr. Lisa Morgan, who had been a quantum physicist before the transformation, monitored the alien response from her station. Her consciousness was still her own, but it was also connected to every other human on the planet. "They are scared," Lisa reported to Jake without speaking. The words appeared directly in his mind, along with the thoughts and emotions behind them. 73 different species are trying to communicate with us at the same time. They do. Not understand what we have become? Jake smiled, but it was not just his smile. It was the smile of humanity itself, warm and knowing and slightly amused by the panic they had caused. The truth was both simpler and more complex than any alien theory had suggested. Humanity had not vanished or been destroyed. They had evolved. Not biologically, but consciously. They had become something that the galaxy had never seen before. It had started with the discovery that they were being watched. Human scientists had detected the alien monitoring stations decades ago, but had kept the knowledge secret. They knew that dozens of species were studying them, judging them, and in some cases planning to attack them instead of panicking or declaring war. Humanity had chosen a different path. They had decided to become something that could not be threatened by any alien civilization. The transformation had taken place in the underground facilities that Captain Yixnall had discovered. Using a combination of advanced meditation techniques, quantum consciousness research, and technology that merged organic and digital systems, humanity had spent 6 months learning to think as one species while maintaining their individuality. They had not uploaded their minds into computers, as some aliens had theorized. They had not become a hive mind like the species of Kepler 442b. They had become something entirely new, a collective consciousness that preserved individual identity while allowing shared thought and purpose. Colonel Ryan Mitchell monitored the defensive systems from the orbital platform that had once been the International Space Station. Like all humans, he was both himself and part of something larger. He could feel the thoughts and emotions of his species, but his own personality remained intact. The Zephyrian fleet is approaching the outer system, Ryan reported through the shared consciousness. 47 warships moving in attack formation. Jake received the information instantly, along with tactical analysis from thousands of military experts around the globe. But he also felt something else. Sadness that their first contact with alien visitors might have to be violent. Open a direct communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Jake ordered. General Thakveor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Warhammer, watching Earth grow larger on his viewscreen. His fleet had been ordered to attack before humans could complete whatever they were building underground. But the gravitational wave message had changed everything. How are they doing this? His communications officer asked. And the message is reaching us faster than light. This technology should not exist. Before General Thakveor could answer, his communication system activated without anyone touching it. A human face appeared on his screen, a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Hello, General Thakveor, Jake said, speaking perfect Zephyrian. We know why you are here. We know you have been planning to attack us. We do not blame you for your fear. General Thakveor's 4 hearts began beating faster. Humans should not know his language. They should not know his name. They should not be able to contact his ship through systems that were designed to be unhackable. What are you? The general demanded. We are what we have always been, Jake replied. We are human. But we have learned to be human together instead of separately. We have learned to think with one mind while keeping many hearts. Around the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place. Human representatives appeared on communication screens throughout the Galactic Confederation. They spoke every language perfectly and knew the names and histories of the beings they contacted. Dr. Velmore received a call from Dr. Sarah Williams, a human scientist who had studied Dr. Velmore's research for decades. You have watched us for so long, Dr. Williams said with genuine warmth. You have tried to understand us. Now we would like to understand you. Elder Whisper of Stars found herself in communication with a human named David Chun, who spoke in harmonic frequencies that perfectly matched ethereal communication methods. We know you have always wanted peaceful contact, David said. We are ready for that contact now. But we are no longer the chaotic species you have been watching. We have become something that can be your equal partners in the galaxy. The hive mind of Kepler 442b received the most surprising contact of all. Queen Node Prime found her consciousness touched by billions of human minds working in perfect harmony. You thought we might become like you? The human collective consciousness communicated. But we have found a different path. We are many and one at the same time. We are individual and collective together. As the communication spread across the galaxy, the aliens began to understand what had happened during the 6 months of silence. Humanity had not built weapons or defenses. They had built something far more powerful, unity. They had learned to work together without losing themselves. They had solved the greatest challenge any species faced, how to be both individual and united. They had become something that could think like a civilization instead of like billions of separate people. The age of humanity hiding in cosmic isolation was over. The age of galactic diplomacy, with humans as equal partners rather than subjects to be studied, was about to begin. And for the first time in galactic history, it was the aliens who wondered if they were ready for what came next, because humanity had not just grown up. They had become something that the galaxy had never seen before, a species that was truly united while remaining truly free.